I went to the biggest gaming convention in America to find games no one has heard of. But I was not ready for how big the event really was. Because on my first day, I barely managed to find anything other than Tales of Tuscany, a game that's been on my radar for quite some time. But honestly, I was pretty disappointed when I found out it was just an RPG, meaning I wouldn't be able to cover it on my Roguelike channel. But believe it or not, the developer created an entire Roguelike mode just out of the blue. So as the roguelike guy, I had to try it. I made my way over, sat down, and dude, this game is amazing. The art, music, style, humor, you can't really ask for more. Whenever I was walking around, I was seeing some pretty bare-bone projects. I wasn't expecting anything, especially any good roguelikes. But Tales of Tuscany is like an Undertale x Pokemon roguelike combined. At the end of every combat, you can recruit, or gaslight, your enemies to make them your sidekicks. See, I really wanted to talk and interview the game dev, but I'm not kidding when I say this. There was a massive crowd around the booth. I wasn't the only one blown away by this game. So best believe my antisocial ass is not gonna try to interrupt or intrude, but I digress. I continue walking around and finding Mario, but also finding absolutely nothing. I think I must have equipped the dunce hat or low-rolled my RNG because I only found a single roguelike, and that was it. So I came home pretty defeated because now I only have one more day to find as many as I can. But this time, I wasn't gonna go in without a plan. The convention I went to, PAX East, creates a Steam page to showcase all the games at the convention. So I went on, filtered through roguelikes, and wrote down every single one. So when day 2 came around, I spotted Below the Stone almost instantly. Yeah, I have no clue how I missed this. It's kind of like a massive booth, but the game was pretty charming. If I could summarize it, it's kind of like if Stardew Valley and Arc Raiders had a weird dwarf baby. Because even though it's a top-down 2D mining game, it's also an extraction game. If you aren't familiar with extraction games, you enter an area, get as much loot as possible, and extract, using that loot to get stronger for future runs. But I also might have been lured in with the free stuff they had at the booth, but it felt surprisingly great. A lot of games that are early on in development have clunky animation or just a boring gameplay loop, but Below the Stone's whole identity is kind of throwing you the controller and saying, do whatever you want. Because it's a massive underground map, and you can mine to any area your heart desires. I don't know what flipped in my brain, but all strategy flew out the window, and I just mined straight down for a solid like 2 minutes, and encountered insanely strong enemies the deeper I went in. So I kind of found out the hard way that the deeper you get into it, the harder enemies you find. Although you will also find better loot. So there's that classic risk versus reward notorious to the roguelike genre. But something else I aimed to do today was to actually talk to developers this time, not be the weird kid in the corner hoping they talk to me first. So I asked, what's the story behind the game? And the answer floored me. Because when the developer said he wanted to capture that feeling of when you were a kid, first time playing a game, and got so unbelievably mad, you whipped your Wii remote across your living room into your TV, I was utterly speechless, completely countered, because that was the last thing I anticipated to hear from someone trying to market their game. But then he quickly followed it up by stating how he wanted people to feel that way, because it shows how immersed they are into the game. If you can feel that much anger, emotion, then the game did a good job sucking you in, pause, and making you invested. Which is exactly how I felt playing Litany, an indie game inspired by the best parts of gaming gambling, Balatro, and opening up Pokemon packs. As a Pokemon fanatic myself, I was pretty intrigued when I saw this game. But it isn't really a card game, because when you open up your booster packs, you don't get cards, but instead, you get little miniatures that all have their own ability. And the catch is that you can only place them in this 3x3 grid, which leads to some strategizing. For example, this archer here does more damage if there are more units in front of him. So if you're playing, you'd want to make sure that he's behind 2 other units to maximize his damage. And this mage gives damage to a unit next to her. So positioning is super important. And as the game goes on, you can start multiplying your score if you fully complete a row or column. So it's kind of like a deck builder, auto battler, and bingo all rolled up into one. But the main thing I was on the lookout for was the sound effects. Because before I even tried the game, I asked the developer, what's one thing that makes your game stand out from the rest? And he told me how he wanted to capture that addictive feeling from Balatro, specifically the sound effects. And let me tell you, my eyes lit up. because sound effects are like the nicotine while playing a game. Like the Balatro noise, a Pokemon crit sound, oh, and the spike from Smash Bros. I mean, it's coming out. Pretty weird transition, but when I played Free to Flea Pit, I had to look over my shoulder every 10 seconds. Let me paint you a picture. So the booth has a front and a back, right? Unfortunately, I found out that you can only play Flea Pit on the side that's facing the entire convention. And this game is pretty provocative. So I'm sitting there, nodding my head, hand on my chin, trying my absolute best to look like some scholarly critic and not some uber deluxe level 94 gooner. But beyond that, this might just be the most polished roguelike I've played at the con so far. There's voice acting in English, Japanese, and Russian. And honestly, the best part is that you can turn off the NSFW, which is exactly what I did, thank God. Flea Pit's whole story is that you're an introverted geek who choked on a triple burger deluxe. And instead of being sent to heaven, you're accidentally sent to hell with a bunch of busty anime girls. And you can also be a bartender where you can chat up ladies to get more intimate with them. But it shines at the gameplay, because it's a rhythm-based roguelike with actual good music. Rhythm games are already hard to come by, and rhythm roguelikes are like good Isaac runs, rare and impossible. Best believe the look on my face was nothing short of awe when I came to the booth that had two roguelikes, Nocturnum and Wilder Bard. Nocturnum is a top-down shooter where you and your dog take down hordes of demons to save the world. But the aesthetic is what really stood out to me. I've never seen another game like this, let alone a roguelike have this black and white arcadey-like style. And normally, I would expect these games to feel kind of butt to play, but the movement and shooting was actually pretty great. It has some puzzle aspects, cool boss fights, and it's also an extraction game. So after losing to the demo for that, I didn't even have to move 5 feet to find Wilder Bard, a cute woodland roguelike that isn't even out on Steam yet? What? This game was so eye-catching that my short that simply had a 1-second clip of it had a plethora of comments asking about what this goopy little guy was. But it's warranted, because just like Nocturnum, and I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but it's just different, man. It's just so unique. You get 2 cards. Each card has 2 symbols, one that's right side up and the other is upside down, and you can flip the card depending on what symbol you want to use. These symbols are important because your actions can only be played if you have the corresponding symbol. For example, this is a block, and you can only block if you have this exact symbol, kind of like Go Fish. But after a while of testing it out, something hit me. Everyone here, every developer, is working their ass off on their game, and we're getting to see it in such a pure and early form, before any attention or hate. Like, we're truly day ones. And if you want to keep on hearing games no one's heard of, that's literally what my Discord is for. Everything roguelikes. But also, it was just so cool walking around and seeing people pour their hearts into their passion, which was most apparent with the game Crystalmancers, a roguelike that started from a bet made in an elevator accident. I'm not even kidding. The developer explained how he and his friend, who was addicted to Tetris, got stuck in an elevator for hours. And after talking, the friend challenged him to make a roguelike version of Tetris. So that's exactly what he did. But he didn't just want to make a clone, no. So he added a feature that I've never seen in any Tetris game. You can fully customize your Tetris blocks. You can make a shrimpy 1x1 to squeeze into tight gaps, or a 5x5 beefcake of a piece that clears the entire board at once. But among every roguelike I found, the best one that I think will actually blow up is this little game called Blackjacket. It's got all the ingredients for success, but the best part is gambling. Everyone and their grandma is gambling right now. It's dead ass everywhere. Yes, it's a problem. Yes, it could be an epidemic, but it does just so happen to make absolute banger games. So Blackjacket takes Blackjack, a game people already love, and turns it into a full-length roguelike with voice acting, story, and even more content than some finished games. I was able to replay the demo like 20 times and found completely new things for each run, and it isn't even out yet. So if there's one game from this entire convention that has a chance of blowing up, it's gonna be Blackjacket. And you can quote me on that. Thanks for watching.